Hey guys, it's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. I wanted to talk about a game I just beat, and that is Torment, Tides of Numenera. This is a spiritual sequel to Planescape Torment, which was a PC game back when I was probably like 15. I did play a little bit of that, but not much. It looked great. I just, for some reason, never really got into it, and then stopped and played something else or whatever. Kind of, when you're a kid, for the most part, there's a point where when you're a child, you play everything you can, even if it's bad. Then when you become like a teen, you don't have as much, I don't know, patience, I guess, for things. So like if something doesn't click right away, or if you find something else that's interesting, you just jump from one to the next. So this is a spiritual sequel that was kickstarted. This is the day one edition, obviously on the Xbox One. It came with a bunch of cool stuff. It came with obviously the game, a digital download of this armor that I had in the game that I wore through most of the whole game. Came with a soundtrack, which I have in the other room in a case. I didn't want to leave it in the same case. A map that folds out, and a thank you note with an online kind of like PDF that you can download with this code on the back that kind of gives you the lay of the land in terms of the game. So the thing I would say this game is most reminiscent of is something like Fallout 1 and 2, the Wasteland games or Wasteland 2, Baldur's Gate, um, any like Divinity Original Sin, any turn-based strategy like RPGs. But there's a big difference between this game and those games. This game reads like a book. There is more dialogue and text in this game. Excuse me, not dialogue, I should say text. There's more text in this game than any game I've ever played in my life. Almost every person you talk to is lengths and lengths of text, whether it be descriptions of the people or how they look or how they speak. I mean, just different options you can choose from. The main thing of the game is you can go through the whole game pretty much without really fighting. You can fight a couple battles, but I would say at most I fought 5, maybe 4 throughout the whole game. And even those, you can like usually touch something in the area or do something to something which triggers something else and stops the battle or, kills the guys with one hit or whatever. It's a really good game. I really enjoyed it. Um, but you have to really, really want something very dense with lots and lots and lots of text. That's the best way for me to put it. The world is really interesting. It's the kind of main basis is the game is there's this god called the Changing God, and he gets rid of like bodies that he was in and throws them down to this planet, which is I think it's Earth, but it's like a billion years into the future, so everything is really warped and different. And all these cast-offs, as they're known, are being chased and killed off by this like demon or whatever called the Sorrow. And the lore in this game is very, very heavy. Where if you sit and like, there were certain things I just kind of like skipped through at points because I was reading for like a very long time and saw that the conversation wasn't going anywhere. But there, it's so dense that sometimes it could be annoying. But the lore is so heavy. If you like Dungeons and Dragons or you know pen and paper RPGs, I think you would like love this game. The thing is, there's no fighting really. My character mainly had like intimidation skills and persuasion skills, and he could kind of talk his way out of anything. I then had like another character with me who was very strong, and he would be able to strong arm people or break things open if there was like something in the way. So for the most part, as I said, I only had maybe a handful of battles throughout the whole game, and the battle system's okay. I know some people were a little disappointed because Numenera is actually a pen and paper game, I believe, or a book series, but I think it's a pen and paper game. Um, and they were upset that some of the substance from the pen and paper game isn't in this game. They kind of simplified the Numenera, like the items you use. But it's really cool because while you're playing the game, again, with it being such like heavy lore, you encounter such weirdness. There's no other way for me to put it. The characters you meet are very strange. The worlds you're in or the lands you're in are all very science fiction feeling, but also sort of creepy. Like there's lots of organic things that are like moving around and in pain, sort of like something out of a Videodrome, like the David Cronenberg film. Lots of weird things happening. Lots of people that are trapped or, in some form of like limbo that you have to save or you can kill or whatever. Yeah, I had put 30 hours into the game, so it's a lengthy game, especially for me, because I don't usually play RPGs, but it kept my interest. I thought the characters were really interesting. I think the best part of the game is the relationships you build with these characters and the choices you make. Then by the end of the game, those relationships kind of take different turns and the endings change. There's like 6 or 7 endings, and depending on what you did during your course of the game, you can then get a different ending depending on like what you choose. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to give it away, but the main point of the game, or at least one of the main um, perks, I guess, of the game, or whatever you want to call it, is that there's this thing in the game called tides. And I know I'm explaining a lot here, so hopefully it's not like over explaining. There's things called tides, and depending on how you react to things, you get a sway of tides, kind of like the universe moves in a different way depending on how you react. It's very minute, but it will change how people treat you, I believe, a little bit in the game, and how the world ends up at the end of the game with whatever ending you choose. Sort of like if like throughout my game, I was primarily kind to people and tried to be helpful, so my gold tides would sway like to a positive way, and then by the end of the game, I went more towards the gold tide ending, and like it wrapped up nicely. It's just like I said, it's a great game. The only other negative I would say, besides it being so text heavy that I could see it being way overwhelming for people, especially like young people that aren't into playing games that are so text heavy, is the graphics aren't so great. When you really zoom in on the world, you can't get super close, but you can get like kind of close. And I would say like Divinity Original Sin looked better, and Wasteland 2 probably looked a little better as well. The graphics aren't that great from a close point of view, but from a distance, there's always very interesting stuff happening, and graphically, and it's very kind of intriguing. You want to see what's around the corner or what things do, or if you touch them. So the main point, as I said, or I was getting to, is you're this like shell of a god who's trying to fight this demon that's killing you and your people off, all these other shells, these cast-offs that are running through the game. And that's really it. You run into all kinds of strange people and strange experiences, and you can touch things and like manipulate them with your special abilities, and you can, like I said, persuade people and intimidate people to make them do things you want. I'm trying to think if I forgot anything else. There's like items you can use that are called ciphers. If you hold too many at once, you can get sick, and if you hold way too many at once, you die. Every time you die, you end up in like this spiritual realm inside of your mind, and that changes in the game depending on what you do and opens up more areas. So there's lots of like little intricacies in the game. There's like 3 main areas in the game, and then there's like another sort of like ending area. But for 30 hours, you really, as long as you do a lot of talking to everyone and solve all of these quests, whether they be verbally or with some form of violence, it's a pretty long game. So if any of that sounded interesting to you, I would say check it out. I liked it a lot. I would probably give it like a 7, 7.5 if I had to put some kind of score on it. I think the lack of action sort of hindered it. The graphics hindered it a little bit, and the text heaviness of it, the descriptions and everything are just so heavy that you really have to be in the mood to play that type of role-playing game. But if you like pen and paper games, I wouldn't see why you wouldn't eat this up. So, and I only had one glitch, one error throughout the whole game, where the game crashed on me when I first started playing it. I think it had been patched a couple days after that. So, but definitely check out Tides of Numenera if Torment Tides of Numenera, excuse me, if any of that sounded at least somewhat interesting to you. Thanks guys for watching. It's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. Be good.